Hello, and welcome to part 4 of our series on Google Forms. This training is designed to show educators how to create branching forms which can allow for differentiation on assignments, and once mastered, can have any number of creative and useful classroom applications. If you haven't watched previous videos in this series, we recommend you do so before watching this video. Links to these videos are in the description. By the end of this training, you should be able to create a branching form to help differentiate for students. Differentiating can be challenging with large class sizes. Some students are not challenged enough by questions and become disengaged because they require enrichment, while others feel they just don't get it and are falling behind because they never properly learned the introductory skills that are part of the underlying concept. Differentiating is the process of adjusting instruction to reach learners at their levels. For this example, please think of a concept that is familiar to you as an educator and you know the common pitfalls students usually fall into while learning that concept. For this example, we'll go to a basic algebra example of applying the distributive property. Simplify -5 times the quantity 3x minus 2. The correct answer in this example is -15x plus 10, so we make that the first choice. Students often make the mistake of only applying the distribution to the first term, which would yield -15x minus 2. If they select this option, they may need additional guidance on applying the distributive property. Another common mistake is forgetting rules about multiplying two negative values. This could yield -15x minus 10, meaning they understand that with this property you apply the multiplication of the single term to each other term, but might need a refresher on fundamentals of integer multiplication. We can accommodate all three cases using branching forms. First, we must select from the triple dots menu in the lower right part of the question. Go to section based on answer. Then we must actually create different sections of the form to go to. For case 1, if the student gets it, you may want to challenge them with a more difficult question. So we will add a section, give it a new title, like challenge problem, with a descriptor that says, "You got that right, congratulations. Now let's see you try this more difficult problem. I know you can do it." Then add a problem with an extra dimension or challenge to it, perhaps adding a variable to the distributed term or a story problem. Here we will use simplify 3x times the quantity -7x plus 3. You can choose to make this multiple choice and have branches as well, but for this example, I want this to stop here, so I will leave it as a short answer. Students who like challenge will seek you out if they get the challenge incorrect, and average students will often just be happy they got the original concept, so either way we can stop this branch here. When I add the next section, an option from where to go after section 2 will appear, and I will select Submit Form because I designated that as an endpoint. Now I will add another section for the case where they didn't completely distribute the -5. Add a section and title it Distributive property refresher, and then I'll include a video to a tutorial on applying the distributive property. If I wanted to, I can include another question to further dig into the root misunderstandings as to why they might not have picked up the skill right away, but for the sake of time, I'm going to assume that the video is enough to amend any misunderstandings. When I add the final section, I'll make sure to go back to click on Go to Section 1 after finishing Section 3. Finally, we will do a similar process for the misunderstanding with multiplying by negative values. Create a section, add supplemental resources, and that is that for that section. Here I chose to add a link to an in-depth article on a website with nice visuals rather than include a video. It is important to note that if I want this to loop to the original problem for them to try again, I would have to add a blank unused fifth section to allow the option for section 4 to loop back. This option will never automatically be seen or used, it is just a placeholder. Before sending the form, it is a good idea to go back through each section and question and make sure it is redirecting to where you want it to go. This example was just a basic one that would be ideal for an exit ticket. You can have these forms branch, loop, interconnect, and more if you want to get creative or you want to differentiate even further. It is such a versatile feature that I have even seen people make choose your own adventure style games using just Google Forms. Before we conclude, I want to show you an example diagram of how one might map a branching form. It is extremely helpful to draw a diagram or branch map on paper with arrows pointing where you want each section to go, especially if you are going multiple questions deep. As a final note, I would also advise that you test that form out prior to sending it to students. Try every path following your map in preview mode to make sure it works. This concludes part 4 of our series on Google Forms. Additional resources are included in the links below the video. If you want to test your knowledge of branching forms, feel free to take our brief quiz over branching forms using our form included below. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to ask questions and share your ideas in the comments section. We hope this helps you better differentiate for your students.